I appoint my wife to run Turning Point USA if something happens to me. Erika would do a great job. I appoint my wife to run. I appoint my wife.
We finally received a name of the Hollywood deep fake company that we can confirm Turning Point USA was meeting with following Charlie's tragic passing. We're going to show you what this company is capable of, and I'm going to allow you to draw your own conclusion.
For months, supporters clung to that audio as if it were undeniable proof, with Charlie Kirk's voice supposedly naming Erika as his successor. Then leaked footage surfaced, and the story started to collapse. Viewers who had once defended the recording are now reacting in disbelief, as the new material suggests Erika Kirk may have paid for AI-generated content to fake the entire wife appointment video. The second that clip appeared, the carefully built narrative around Charlie's final wishes no longer looked like a clean legacy moment, but more like a carefully staged takeover. And once people began asking who helped spread it, the bigger question only got more unsettling. How far does this alleged deception actually go? The leaked footage landed like a quiet detonation. What had been presented as Charlie Kirk's final wish, with his own voice supposedly appointing Erika to lead Turning Point USA, suddenly looked manufactured from the ground up. For months, that audio had circulated as strong proof of his intentions. Then the layers started peeling back.
I gotta tell you, the more I listen to it, the more AI it sounds to me. Take a listen.
A lot of organizations and groups, as soon as a founder leaves, it just kind of collapses. A lot of my job is not always in the day-to-day details. It's very much vision casting, very much driving success. But we have a great board, and God forbid if something happens, they'll figure it out. I appoint my wife to run Turning Point USA if something happens to me. Erika would do a great job. I appoint my wife to run Turning Point USA if something happens to me. Erika would do a great job. I appoint my wife to run Turning Point USA if something happens to me. Erika would do a great job.
It just doesn't flow.
It just does not add up. Leaked details now suggest that Erika Kirk may have paid for AI-generated content to build the entire wife appointment video, at least according to online discussions surrounding the clip. Once the timeline is lined up, the sequence stops feeling like a coincidence and starts looking, to some viewers, like a deliberate effort to reshape Charlie's legacy. It started with the letters. Charlie's sister, Mary Kirk, stepped forward with serious claims that Erika had allegedly fabricated his private letters after his passing. Those messages were meant to show steady love and trust, but if Mary's account is accurate, critics say they may have been crafted to generate sympathy and reinforce a very specific narrative, while questions about the marriage continued to grow. That led people to wonder what else might have been managed behind the scenes. TPUSA then released what they described as a clear recording from a donor event in Aspen. In that clip, Charlie supposedly said that if anything happened to him, Erika would take over the organization. On the surface, it sounded simple enough, until donors who said they were actually there began pushing back. They later told Candace Owens that the event did not unfold the way the recording suggested.
In this investigation, when I went into that room, I believed that, Erika was being a little weird, but I thought that I was going to get straight answers, and then she lied to my face. And from that point on, when I clocked her on those lies, and when the public kept repeatedly clocking her on lies and seeing your reaction to it like it is right now, I grew increasingly suspicious of Erika. I remain suspicious of Erika. I think that is any person who is being honest. Why don't you respond to what I'm actually saying? I am saying that donors are telling us that that was an AI video or an AI audio that you presented of Charlie Kirk. Wouldn't that be a great time to clear that up? If you're gonna sit there and you're gonna point the finger at Candace Owens, I would have said, and it is egregious that Candace Owens is implying that we would make this up, that Charlie didn't want me to take over. And then you slam dunk, show the video of Charlie Kirk saying in Aspen that he wanted you to be the CEO. I have made a lot of claims about you lying, and I stand by the claims that I have made on this show, okay? I stand by the claims I have made. Like I said, I spoke to multiple donors that were at that event.
Charlie reportedly avoided any discussion of family succession that day, and Erika was in Aspen, not in the room for the key remarks. There was no formal appointment or endorsement according to multiple people familiar with the event. The backdrop did not match, and the context was off. Yet the audio kept spreading across platforms as if it were settled fact. That is when the deepfake angle became harder to dismiss. Investigators and voice analysts noticed that the wording and cadence seemed to pull heavily from Charlie's final public interview in Salt Lake City, just days before his passing. References to founders, vision, and organizations struggling without strong leadership all showed up in the Succession audio. To some viewers, it looked like someone may have taken pieces of his last recorded appearance and stitched together a new message. The technology trail has been tied in online discussion to VFXLA, a Hollywood AI company known for pushing deepfake boundaries. Sources say a team connected to Turning Point reached out soon after Charlie's passing, and that is why the reaction keeps growing. Once people started comparing the recording, the letters, and the donor event claims side by side, the whole story began to feel less like a simple succession plan and more like a carefully managed narrative, at least in the eyes of critics. Online, some viewers say the details do not line up cleanly, and that gap has only made the speculation louder. What makes this so hard for supporters is that each new claim seems to raise the same question: who actually shaped the public version of events? The more people talk about the audio, the private messages, and the alleged behind-the-scenes coordination, the more the conversation shifts from grief to credibility. And once that happens, every clip gets rewatched, every word gets picked apart, and every mismatch starts to matter. At this point, the dispute is no longer just about one recording. It has become about trust, timing, and whether the story being pushed to the public matches what really happened behind closed doors. That is the part keeping this controversy alive.
Marcus Wada, alleged former arms dealer, he's already actually incorporating AI voices into their presentations. When going out to donors, they're using a voiceover to narrate presentations. Well, today we can confirm to you that for a reason that is not yet known, after Charlie's death, and maybe even before Charlie's death, but definitively after, Marcus was meeting with and communicating with Hollywood AI deep fake companies. Okay, they specialize in creating deep fakes. Now, maybe if this was a conservative company that specialized in making videos, you might go, okay, you know, back when Daily Wire was saying they were going to explode into Hollywood, that might make sense. But why Turning Point USA? I'm going to give you the name of the company. It's VFXLA. Okay, VFX Los Angeles. These guys were brought into Turning Point USA. Like I said, we can confirm they met with Marcus Wada. I can't confirm that they created any content for him. But I would like to show you on their website what they say they specialize in. Let's just click around, right? Here we go. It tells us here they do voice cloning. Yet another example of our AI capabilities is the recreation of a specific voice cloning.
The goal was reportedly to produce convincing media that could help steer the organization forward. But once the Aspen donor story started falling apart under scrutiny, the response seemed to shift. Blake Neff then shared edited clips in an effort to present the audio as authentic, although community notes quickly corrected the record. The footage, users pointed out, appeared to come from a completely different event. ActCon 2023, Building the Machine for Victory. Different room, different context, and no mention of Erika. Even so, the push did not stop. The frustration in those replies said a lot on its own.
The most important relationship in your life is the one that you have with your Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. His passion was my passion, and now his mission is my mission.
I appoint my wife to run Turning Point USA if something happens to me. Erika would do a great job. I appoint my wife to run Turning Point USA if something happens to me. Erika would do a great job.
I appoint my wife to run Turning Point USA if something happens to me. Erika would do a great job.
And the online community has been very vocal about it, with one user putting it bluntly: why would they undermine themselves like this? This video looks very poorly made. Another commenter went even further, saying, the video raised questions online about whether it was AI. TPUSA should be embarrassed to drop this seemingly fake video. They look suspicious as hell. Of course, those are social media reactions, not verified conclusions, but the noise around the clip only kept growing. Erika's public silence on the mounting contradictions only added to the unease. In earlier controversies, there were quick responses, but this time, there was mostly quiet. No detailed rebuttal, and no original unedited version was released to clear things up. Instead, the attention shifted to keeping up appearances. Then people started pointing to clips from her recent women's leadership events, where some viewers felt the crowds looked smaller than the edited angles suggested. Others noticed awkward wording and moments that seemed to encourage the audience to cheer a little harder than the energy in the room really called for. To critics, it looked like someone trying to hold together an image that was already starting to crack. And the pattern, in their eyes, reaches back even further. Some online commenters also pointed to older clips, showing what they described as unsettling looks. And they claimed those moments may have made Charlie uneasy before his tragic passing, though that part remains disputed and unverified. And that is exactly why the reaction has not settled down. Once a story starts leaning on clips, edits, and disputed context, people stop focusing on the headline and start checking every frame for signs that something was taken out of place. That is where the skepticism keeps growing, because each new explanation seems to open up another gap instead of closing the one before it. For critics online, the issue is not just whether the audio sounded convincing, it is whether the public was being shown a version of events that held up under even basic scrutiny. When the surrounding details keep shifting, the silence becomes part of the story, and the questions get louder. Was the clip meant to clarify things, or did it only make the confusion worse? That is the part people keep circling back to. And with every rewatch, every side-by-side comparison, and every disputed claim attached to the rollout, the conversation moves further away from simple support and deeper into doubt. That shift matters, because once trust starts slipping, even small inconsistencies begin to look much bigger than they did at first.
We said our prayer, and we asked the Lord to protect us.
The students,
unable to understand, really.
Okay, well, until you walk a mile in someone else's shoes.
Yes, I'll guard my words.
The I don't know portion of where I sit today was
and I was standing in the ticket line.
No, of course. But we serve a just God. And I rest easy in knowing that He's sovereign, but He's just. And so let the Lord handle that.
Can I have one thing? Can I have one thing?
Even you would love for me to be angry.
What, the conspiracy collection? Get it before Christmas. Like,
Rally the troops, burn the city down, march in the streets.
and of God's merciful love. To stop. I will never forget the time I was in Israel with my husband, well, not with, that was the second time, but the first time with my mother on a pilgrimage. And I was standing in the ticket line, and I remember looking behind me, and in the snake of the ticket line was a guy who looked very familiar. I had no idea who he was. And I told my mom, this guy looks so familiar. And as a typical mother, she said, go and say hi. No. We were late for our flight, and I'm not going to come off like a crazy person with a, that's just weird. That ended up being Charlie. Nothing is by coincidence. You are a woman under authority. You get to see how God uses your life in such a powerful, beautiful way. And if you feel like in college you're in your Esther era from the standpoint of you feel like you can't say the things you want to say, remember that your degree fades. It's a piece of paper. Your knowledge of everything that you gained is always going to be with you. But your degree fades, but your godliness does not. The opinions of your professors, they won't outlive you. They're going to come and go. But your faithfulness, that will stay with you. If you stand for Christ, do it boldly even when you're alone. And let your conduct preach even when you're silenced, and be found faithful.
We want the best for our country. They don't. This is why Charlie started Turning Point USA in the first place. He didn't trust the radicalized liberal teachers. And this past Saturday, it was a school teacher, of all people, a school teacher, that attempted to change our history for the worse with bullets. And everyone is asking why I even went to the White House Correspondents' Dinner. And it was because many of the journalists in that room have attempted to dehumanize me, and I wanted to meet some of them face to face, quite frankly. Why have a conversation about me when you can have a conversation with me?
Earlier DNA rumors and timeline questions involving the young people had already put real strain on family ties. Charlie's parents reportedly started pulling back as the tension grew. Then Mary Kirk's accusations about the letters added yet another crack to an already fragile situation. Even former insiders like Andrew Colvett ended up under fresh scrutiny for the part they played in pushing certain narratives, including the controversial Superman neck explanation tied to the weapon-related incident, a claim that online commenters continue to debate.
Y'all, whose kids are these? Whose kids are these? Erika Kirk provided this as proof of where she was September 9th.
I've known Erika since they started dating, since Charlie and Erika started dating. I remember the first time I met Erika, it was actually at Politicon in Los Angeles many years back. And yeah, and I was like, who is this gal? Like, you know, and Charlie was like, oh, she's hanging out with us today, you know. Charlie, you could tell there was something different though, and I logged it. And Erika has always been tremendous, and she never sought the limelight. She was always very happy to sort of be doing her own thing and just be supportive of Charlie. And she's never been anything but just high character, just warm. She was a total asset to Charlie in the sense that, you know, Charlie was so missional. He was so direct. He was so kind of on just, you know, Energizer Bunny, and direct about what he needed to get done. And Erika was this humanizing presence just for the staff, for you know, whether it was donors or politicians or whoever he was meeting with. And she was just so, but content to be in the background and be the mom.
Tell Erika that. Yeah. Erika is very shrewd. She's very smart. There's a great story. I can't really tell you who this was, but it was a very important person. And it happened within hours of the news. And the call goes in, she takes it because it was a very important person. And the question was to her, okay, so just as a starting point, like, what do you know? And she was like, I know everything. And I was like, that's amazing.
That detail, which was allegedly shaped in coordination with Erika during urgent calls, raised even more questions about how information moved after Charlie's passing. One detail changed everything. The donors who attended Aspen were reportedly stunned when the audio was released. They pushed for a deeper review because they believed Charlie had not said those words. Their accounts seemed to line up too neatly with the technical review of the voice material. And now the appointment video no longer reads like a heartfelt final instruction. To many viewers, it starts to look more like a calculated tool for securing control. The internet, as expected, split hard. Some still defend Erika as a grieving widow who was trying to protect her husband's mission. Others see a much bigger operation at play. Claims about narrative control, honeypot suspicions, and legacy hijacking spread fast, while smear attempts against voices like Candace Owens, reported bot activity, and even threats toward team members only made the situation feel more guarded and suspicious. And that is why the story keeps pulling people back in, because once the public starts questioning the rollout, every new detail gets examined like evidence. Supporters may still see it as a family trying to preserve Charlie's legacy, but critics online are reading it very differently. To them, the issue is not just the content of the clip, it is the way the whole thing was presented, defended, and then left hanging when questions started piling up. That kind of uncertainty creates its own momentum. The more people rewatch the footage, the more they focus on the small things, the timing, the wording, the edits, and the gaps left by the lack of a clear explanation. Even viewers who are not taking sides can see why the reaction got so intense, because a story built on a disputed recording will always invite people to look for what was left out. And once trust takes that kind of hit, every silence feels louder, every correction feels delayed, every attempt to steady the narrative only gives online commenters more material to dissect. That is the pressure surrounding this situation now, not just the original clip, but the growing sense that the public was expected to accept too much without enough clarity. So the discussion has moved beyond simple debate over one video. It has turned into a wider question about who controlled the message, who benefited from the confusion, and why so many people online feel the answers are still not fully matching the story being told.
I forgive him. On the cross, our Savior said, "Father, forgive them, for they not know what they do." That man, that young man, I forgive him.
USA did a massive purge of employees a few days ago, or at the end of, I guess, last week, you could say. What did you hear about that purge?
I heard there were 30 to 40 people purged, that they were looking for the leak. They knew there are leaks out of TPUSA. They are terrified of these leaks because of what TPUSA has been up to. And rather than try to be an honest organization, it's just let's get rid of all the people we think might be disclosing that we're a dishonest organization.
Behavioral cues only added to the unease. People pointed to how quickly certain clips were pushed out, how the editing seemed to leave out full context, and how contradictory material was answered with repetition instead of a clear explanation. In online discussion, those choices made the rollout feel even more questionable. In a world where Charlie built Turning Point on relentless authenticity, this chapter feels like the opposite. If the wife's appointment video was, as some viewers allege, AI-assisted and used to manufacture support for leadership transition, then every move that followed at the organization starts to look much less stable. Charlie's public emphasis on traditional roles and family priorities now appears to clash with the image of Erika stepping into the CEO spotlight.
I think that we've gone wrong here, that women should prioritize family and children way above career, that they should try to find their husband before they're 25, that they should try to get married way younger. Having children, I believe, is a blessing from the Lord. It's the most amazing thing. You should try to have as many children as you can. Much more important than traveling to Thailand or having a big apartment or a bunch of cats. Having children are a gift from the Lord. Young ladies, they need to be very clear about what they're expecting in a man and date with the intent to marry and not just date to, have a good time.
The big question people keep asking is why push so hard to frame this as his alleged dying wish when those who were there say something different? The deeper this unravels, the clearer the pattern seems to get. Alleged fake letters shaping private memory, AI reportedly reshaping a public legacy, and a circle of insiders trying to hold on to control while family members and longtime supporters quietly pull back. To many online, it feels like a coordinated effort to rewrite the final chapter of Charlie Kirk's story on their own terms. One user wrote, "If it were real, they would have put it out long ago before he had a tragic passing." Another was even more direct, saying, "Erika isn't fit to run a lemonade stand. This is clearly AI and ulterior motives. TPUSA thinks we're this stupid? He was in the prime of his life when he had a tragic passing. Never appointed anyone." Another critic added, "Funny that they waited until Candace was off the air for 1 week to release it." Yet another commented, "Crazy they actually put this out as proof." So the question keeps coming back. If this was really what Charlie wanted, why does every new piece of evidence seem to need so much manipulation to back it up? And that is what makes the backlash so hard to contain, because once people start doubting the presentation, they stop focusing only on the clip itself and start examining everyone around it. Online discussions have turned every pause, every edit, and every delayed response into something people want explained, and no one seems satisfied with broad denials alone. The reaction also shows how quickly trust can shift when a story depends on a disputed recording. Supporters may still argue that the family was trying to protect Charlie's legacy, but critics say the rollout only made the situation look more managed, not less. That gap between what was said publicly and what viewers believe they are seeing is exactly where the suspicion keeps growing. From there, the conversation becomes less about one piece of footage and more about credibility. Who knew what, who approved what, and why the explanation has not settled the noise. The longer those questions stay unanswered, the more the narrative slips out of anyone's control, and the more people online treat every new detail as part of a much bigger dispute. What really happened before and after his tragic passing keeps coming back in fragments and unanswered questions, and nobody inside Charlie Kirk's circle seems eager to address it head-on. If this breakdown made you think twice about the disputed story, like, subscribe, share, comment, and see you on the next one.